Today we celebrate three rather major events: the Feast of Corpus Christi, or the Body and Blood of Christ, Juneteenth, and Father's Day. Each of them well worthy of their own celebration, yet they all occur on the same day. I will offer some thoughts on each of them. The passage from 1 Corinthians is so familiar to us because it contains the words that are used during our Eucharistic liturgy when we bless the bread and wine. It includes the actions that were mirrored in the gospel passage. Jesus takes the bread, gives thanks and blesses the bread, breaks it, and finally gives it to the multitude. These same distinct four actions take place in our current liturgical practice. These four actions also occur within us. Jesus gives and we take. In this taking, we are blessed and we become what we receive, the hands and feet and heart of Christ in our world. We are broken open so that our hearts can hear the cry of the poor, and we are fortified to give what we can to bring Christ's love into our world. That phrase, "in remembrance of me," does not merely mean recalling something from the past, but making it present in the present. Remembering by doing those same things that Jesus did, by living the values that make Jesus present in our world today. Since we are celebrating the feast of the body and blood of Christ, I can somewhat understand why the deciders of the lectionary chose to pull these four verses out of chapter 11. And in pulling them out of chapter 11, they naturally take them out of context. Chapter 11 is actually a complaint by Paul about the way the community in Corinth is celebrating the Eucharistic meal. They were not treating everyone fairly, nor being sensitive to the needs of those less fortunate. Some commentators suggest that the working class members of the community were not able to arrive early because they were working, and by the time they arrived, there wasn't much actual food left for them. But in any event, Paul was chastising them for not caring for all the members of the community as they should. When Jesus feeds the multitudes, all ate and all had enough. One interpretation of this passage, popular among the miracle adverse, explains the multiplication of the loaves and fishes as an instance of people sharing the stashes of food they had been hiding, but only after they had been shamed into doing it. But in any case, the message of Jesus is clear. All are fed. How frequently do our ecclesial rules place barriers to the radical hospitality where all are fed? How many people are barred from receiving the Blessed Eucharist, as Pope Francis calls it, the bread for sinners? We cannot come to the table while leaving others uninvited and unwelcomed. We cannot leave the table and be content to leave anyone hungry. One of the most uninviting and unwelcoming actions of our country was the establishment of slavery, which left so many people hungry for freedom. On January 1st in 1863, Lincoln's executive order, the Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves in the southern states, but it did not abolish slavery in this country. That would not occur until the ratification of the 13th Amendment in December of 1865. On Juneteenth, we recall the day 2.5 years after Lincoln's proclamation, when the Union General Granger arrived in Texas and told the slaves that they had been freed. I can only sort of celebrate this day because of the delay of freedom which these people endured. And also, I can only sort of celebrate this day because of the all too prevalent attitude of white supremacy, which still keeps some people uninvited, unwelcomed, unsafe, and hungry for their full acceptance and full justice. As we come to the table, let us bring our resolve to do what we can to bring true justice through which all are satisfied and all have enough. Now, we might easily feel that our efforts are meager or our abilities to turn the tide are too small and insignificant. That is a good time to reflect on another message from this gospel passage. Jesus started with a very meager amount and made it enough so that all were satisfied. Jesus can take the little we think we have to offer and make it enough. And who can forget our fathers on this special day? Hopefully, many of us can cherish the gift of fathers or father figures who guided us with their love and their wisdom. The church has often used the image of God as Father, which works for many of us, but not all of us. Jesus, the man, had a very unique and intimate relationship with the God whom he called Father. Scripture scholars tell us that the word the gospel writers had Jesus use was Abba, which more closely translates as dad or daddy. This certainly describes a more intimate relationship than the one we might imagine if using the word father. I was fairly comfortable with this idea since I was blessed to have a wonderful, caring, and loving dad. But the full impact of that Abba relationship came home to me in a very strong way a few years ago when I was on vacation. I was sitting by the pool and a young Jewish family was frolicking there. A dad and two daughters, perhaps 4 and 6 years old. The girls were squealing with delight and shouting, Abba, 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 as they jumped from the side of the pool into the arms of their dad. Complete joy, complete trust, total love as they jumped into the loving arms that they knew would enfold them. I sat there mesmerized. So this is what Abba means. And I pray that we may all know the joy and trust of jumping into the loving arms of our Abba God.